And hello, everybody. Welcome in Region Football Weekly for you right here on the Region Sports Network, presented by Tire Pros in Maryville. We are more than tires, live from the Centeer Bank Studios at the Athletic Performance Center. Michael Brender here, along with Mike DeWine. I think they got to somehow copyright this name together, you and I together here when we're doing Region Football Weekly.
We'll talk after this, the Mike and Mike show, something. We'll get,
and that's copyrights put in.
Probably already copyrighted by somebody.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out, but it's great to be here. I can only hold so much of a flame to the seat that's usually held by Jay Simmons. He's having some fun wherever he is right now, but we'll hold it
undisclosed
down
location.
Undisclosed location, but more than happy to be here on Thursday night with you, Michael. Another great slate of games that we especially, and you were here in the studio last Friday, breaking down a lot of fantastic Friday night games. We're in the thick of it now. It's hard to believe it's already week 6. These teams really got to start finding their identity, start those young players that we were maybe giving some grace in the early parts of the season. They got to grow up here pretty quickly, especially now with some conference games that it kind of paints the whole story of who's going to come out on top in these respective conferences.
Yeah, historically we've always kind of talked about those first 3 weeks of the season. You're trying to find your identity, trying to find out a little bit more about your football team, what direction you're going to go. 4 through 6 are the weeks where you're really kind of solidifying what you are. You kind of have that identity.
Yep.
You're solidifying that. Then 7 through 9 is what's getting you to sectionals and going to propel you through into the postseason, making that run towards Indianapolis. So we're going to be heading to that stretch here really soon. I mean, we're only weeks away from talking about sectional draw.
Right.
It's really not that far away. It's crazy how fast this season goes. But when you think about all the weeks that we talk about here on Region Football Weekly and then all the other shows that we do, it just flies by so quickly. But plenty to get to throughout this episode of Region Football Weekly today, again presented by Tire Pros in Maryville. Let's go through some of the games that we had this past week. We talked about them a little bit on the Region Football Wrap-Up Show, but now we got Region Football Weekly. How about Bowman and Calumet kind of kicking things off here? Those Calumet Warriors continuing to roll through this schedule, 52-16 this past week.
Calumet now up to 4-1 on the year. We'll talk about this team when we get into our top 10, our Hennigenberg Home Improvement top 10. Calumet now getting back in the win column. Had that loss to Highland a little bit ago. This is a team, Bryce Brandon, a great name to watch out for. Ran for over 300 yards in that win against Bowman. 6 touchdowns. Have a day, young man.
Yeah, not too bad. 6 touchdowns. We'll take that any day of the week. Moving on down the line, another team with Warriors as their mascot. How about Bishop Knoll getting the win 34-16 over Calumet Christian?
Good to see Bishop Knoll again. New coach over there, Rick Good, a coach that you're familiar with as well, of course, with his time at Lake Central. It's good to see them kind of moving in the right direction. Calumet Christian's kind of one of those programs that will hang in some games, do some good things here and there, but Bishop Knoll more so, again, seeing them more kind of that region team, a team that we're a little bit more familiar with, and Rick Good especially, adding another one to the win column.
Always good people over there with Rick Good. Now, in a game that features the number 1 team in the area, but again, just another regular season win. I think it's like 7,000 in a row at this point, it feels like. Definitely in the 30s for sure, no question. But the Crown Point Bulldogs, 47-7 over the Portage Indians.
There's not much more you could really say, Michael. It's just, this is a team that's kind of been doing it a little bit differently. I mean, we've seen some closer games, I guess, the Crown Point standards as of late. Yes, Portage, I mean, coming into this game, you take a look at the Crown Point Bulldogs and what they've done, not only this season, but the seasons kind of leading up to this. And we understood that, they're the number 1 team for this reason. And Portage, just a whirlwind offseason that they've had, and just a lot of new pieces on the field and on the sidelines that you got to roll with the card that you're dealt. And, in this case, it's tough for those kids, but then you run into a buzzsaw like Crown Point. I think just the tip for Portage, just stay positive. There's still some memories to be made, and you still got some games on the schedule. And it's, you look at the record now, 0-5 for them. It's tough. But keep your head hanged high, and this is a fun time still. Yes, the wins are great, but I mean it's easy to kind of get caught up more in the results on the score and not really what we're doing in the here and now. Yeah, we're playing football, we're playing a kid's game, we're playing with our friends. It's all in good fun, and wins are kind of a nice thing to have. But I recommend for all those players out there at least to hang your head high. But yeah, about the victors, I mean, there's not much more you could say. We'll talk about them later in the show, but it's customary. It's weekly. It's just about with Crown Point. They punch in, punch out. They get ready. They add another one to the tally. And the Duneland, whatever that streak is, I think it's 22, 23 maybe
Duneland,
straight Duneland games. 32, I believe. We got the numbers here in terms of regular season victories in a row. Add it to the total.
I know it's in the 30s for sure for regular season victories in a row going back to 2022. A lot of lopsided scores in this particular week, and a lot of games that were decided late. Culver Academy, one of those, as well. Cobra Academy Eagles get the win over Hammond Central 35-6.
Hammond Central is just a team that is going to grow over time. It's not going to be a one-year rebuild. Tyler Milby, their new head coach, and this team's now sitting kind of similar to Portage. When you have a couple players that go to maybe a different school, kind of in this new landscape of Northwest Indiana football, you got to find some pieces to fulfill those roles not only this year but moving forward. And Hammond Central, that's been tough sledding so far. Keep your head hang high, and I expect a bright future. We ran into Tyler Milby this offseason. He's the right guy for the job. It's easy to see the record now and think otherwise, but positive days are definitely ahead for the Wolves.
Yeah, when you look at some of these first-year coaches, not everyone has the easiest of tasks to try to get to where some of these are. You look at Coach Bazia, he didn't have a winning record in his first year, and you see what's happening now, rattling off 30-something regular season wins.
Right.
Could be around the corner for Hammond Central. There's something that he's going to try to build to that kind of success as well. More lopsided scores. You had the Lowell Red Devils, number 7, coming into last week. We'll see if this moves them up in the Enigenberg top 10. We'll find out here in a little bit. But the Lowell Red Devils, 42-7 over the Highland Trojans.
It's what Lowell's doing. I mean, they're really putting the points up on the board. Outside of that Week 1 loss to Crown Point, which is one that's quite a good team to lose to. They have put points up on the board, and they just played complimentary football and are really buying into Casey McKim in year 1. We just talked about the struggles that coaches see in year 1. That hasn't been the case so far in Lowell. There's a lot of respect to go around from us here at the Region Sports Network, what Lowell's doing, and obviously bringing in a proven winner like Casey McKim. The results are obviously showing. It's another just great performance in the NCC, and now of one of only 2 undefeated teams in that conference that remain.
I was just going to mention that as we segue into probably one of the games that a lot of people would have had circled on their calendars if they're looking at a matchup. Like, we need to really pay attention to this one, especially in the NCC, as you had at that time. You had undefeated Hobart Brickies going in to Father Eckert Field and taking on the Andrean 59ers. 17-7 win for the Andrean 59ers, though, over the Hobart Brickies, so no longer undefeated in NCC.
I'd say this is a statement victory for Andrean, and one of the things that Jay and I sort of hinted on heading into this game last week on RFW was the prior games that these two teams have played. And I mean, you have to play who's on your schedule. That's a tale as old as time. But looking at Hobart's, I got their 4 wins now in the season. They have a combined record of 4-16. 3 of those wins are from one team with their Week 1 win against Chesterton, and one of them is from Munster. So leading up to this Andrean game, they haven't really been quite tested like Andrean has. They took on Maryville in the opener, a game that you were at. They took on Lures in the second game. So, and then Andrean again kind of coasted and kind of got ready for a game like this in the NCC. But this team understands what it's like to play in those big moments, and that might have been the difference here with Hobart. But big units of credit for Andrean. Their defense has been playing absolutely outstanding. They held Alex Tatum in this Hobart offense that scored 40 plus points in every game except the opener. And they held them at bay. They scored their 7 points very late in the fourth quarter. They held them to looking at Alex Tatum, he was 7 of 23 with 62 passing yards. He's one of the top passers in the area. But this Andrean secondary and linebacking core especially did their job here tonight. I mean, this Andrean team, Michael, and we'll talk about how the NCC will kind of shape out and potential future matchups that may decide this conference. But I've been kind of saying it all off season, kind of gearing up even in this season, that Andrean at the 2A level, this team has a real shot, and I think maybe the best shot we could say out of everybody in their respective class to go to Lucas Oil Stadium and win a state championship.
Certainly one of the highest ceilings that we were talking about coming into this. When we were sitting here for the pregame or preseason show, that was one of the teams that we thought probably had the best chance, and we still believe that. And a lot of people would have said this Andrean team probably was going to start off 0-2 and then rattle off their wins. Well, they got their first victory a little earlier than a lot of people would have expected. But let me ask you this about the Hobart Brickies, because obviously there's going to always be high expectations for this team.
Yeah.
If they are going to make a run, is a game like this, is this that humbling kind of game that kind of says, okay, we beat the teams that we were supposed to beat. This was our test. We lost. Now this is what's going to carry us into the rest of the season. They found their identity. Now they have something to truly work on. They found that things on the the game footage, like, okay, this is where we need to work. Does that propel them? Does that give them a shot later on down the road to kind of make some noise as we march our way toward Indianapolis?
Yeah, no question. I would say it definitely helps Hobart, and especially with them, they got to gear up very quickly for the opponent they're going to be taking on next week. That is also no slouch. That'll have a lot of implications in the NCC as well. And I mean, it stings for Hobart that now the chance at undefeated in conference and all these conference goals. Now you have to ask for some help for some other teams if you want to share, which they wouldn't mind, of course, but you got to get over that because this is an Andrean team. You got to think about it. They're never going to play again. The team they're going to play next week, the Lowell Red Devils,
Mm-hmm.
that's a sectional opponent with a sectional that has been owned by New Prairie. New Prairie's win this through 5 games. They're
Right.
going through a little bit of an identity change. Obviously, we talked about Casey McKim, their former head coach, who's now at Lowell. So that sectional, Michael, is wide open. It might be decided between one of those two teams in Hobart and Lowell, but this is definitely a gut punch and a punch in the face for sure that, hey, let's gear up because we're not going to be playing again that combined record. No disrespect to those teams before that they played, but this was their biggest test of the year and they fell flat, and they're hoping that doesn't happen again for the rest of the season.
And this is something where coaches can say, okay, we took this one on the chin.
Yeah,
you're humbled now at this point. Let's rock and roll for the rest of the season. You're not as great as you think you are. You can be beaten. You're not immortal. Let's rock and roll, and let's make sure that you are where you thought you were coming into that game beforehand.
couldn't agree more.
All right, moving on down the line, you got the Hanover Central Wildcats, who picked up another win on the year, 17-7 over the KV Cougars. This was a kind of, if you're Hanover, this was a much needed win, just to kind of like give a little bit of an exhale in the way that things have gone with Hanover so far this season, especially after the success of the last few seasons.
Yeah, it's been an interesting season for Hanover. Yes, you have a lot of different dynamics, a new team, a lot of new players that have to kind of step up and take these roles of their predecessors that have resulted in some great Hanover Central programs and a team that has won the conference in back-to-back years and their toughest schedule in program history. And so to have one of these games, kind of one of the games that you're heading into it, you're probably supposed to win with a KV team that is really rebuilding. Again, 0-5 up until this point, and Hanover, again, like you said, an exhale. Starting to get some answers at some key positions, starting to see some players kind of step up. That will be around next year, hopefully, but a good win there for Coach Bartolomeo and the Wildcats.
All right, next matchup was played this past Saturday. It wasn't Friday, it was Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Lake Station Eagles going into Whiting. Great place to go watch a football game, and the atmosphere was electric over there at Whiting. The Lake Station kind of spoils the fun. They get the win 36-28 over the Whiting Oilers.
Yeah, talk about a fun place. If you want to rewatch that, we got that game on the Region Sports Network just this past Saturday. Myself, Justin Cole, Zach Miller, a few others were there as well, taking in that whole environment. But yeah, it was a good game. Lake Station, this team could run the football, and we'll talk about them a little bit later. Whiting put up a good fight, had a pretty nice fourth quarter comeback that they even recovered an onside kick and had a chance to win it. But the Lake Station Eagles improved to 4-1. I don't think any of us had that on our bingo cards. Kudos there to the Eagles and their dominant rushing attack. You did? He did. He did. Of course you did.
Of course. Back in December I had that. Just what everybody had.
You're the wizard.
What I didn't have, although after watching them the previous week against Chesterton, one of the things on my bingo card was definitely LaPorte Slicers, unfortunately, over the Lake Central Indians from my perspective. But I tell you what, I like this LaPorte team. Do I think they're going to win the Duneland? Obviously not, because they've already lost some games. But at the same token, this team is fun to watch. They really are. They have a cohesiveness that you can see out there on the field, and they don't give up in games. I mean, watching that game against Chesterton, and they get the win over Lake Central this past week, 27-16. But the weekend prior against Chesterton, they're down in the game 12-0 right off the bat. I mean, you're talking a bad snap and just some craziness that happens on defense, and they're down 12-0. It ended up being a ball game down the stretch. They didn't give up. They kept fighting for coach, and this team's a fun team to watch. And they may not make a lot of noise in terms of the Duneland, in terms of the record and the fancy numbers and stuff like that. They're just a scrappy team to watch, and I enjoy watching that.
Yeah, this is a team that does not look like they went winless last year. They're starting to kind of build up a little bit of LaPorte pride and starting to emulate some of those teams that bring back what it means to be a Slicer football player. And they have a cat in the bag we keep talking about. He's definitely kind of the main piece of LaPorte. But Reed Raymond had a fantastic night once again against Lake Central for 26 carries, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns. They matched their win total from 2023, 2022, and 2021. So they're trying to hopefully turn a corner here. Obviously, like you said, the Duneland might be a little bit out of reach, but at this point, LaPorte was a team that, again, what was that identity coming into the year? You and I sat not too far from here and asked that exact question. And right now, it's playing through kind of Reed Raymond on the offense, and they got a pretty solid run defense as well. They held some good rushing teams at bay. And obviously, to get a win against Lake Central, a team that I'd consider this a shock kind of on that side of the coin, to see the results in that. For LaPorte, I mean, big shout out to them, their first Duneland win since 2023. But for Lake Central, I think I kind of expected them to at least go in there. And they got down pretty early from what I saw and never really came back. a positive coming out of this was Cam Reddick and the passing attack. Cam Reddick had 189 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. One piece that really what was big of the puzzle was Frank Verta, a junior receiver, had 7 catches for 85 yards in both of those scores. But it's all about the LaPorte Sliders to see them walk out with that. To build, a Duneland win. They're tough to come by, and that's big for Coach Epple and his squad.
Yeah, no, they're a fun team. I can't wait to continue to watch them throughout the season. Another what we thought was going to be a really intriguing matchup didn't really turn out that way on the scoreboard. A lot of touchdowns late in this one, but one that I was really curious on, and I kind of had circled down, and I thought, after talking to some people, this one might have an upset brewing, and then I was proven wrong very, very quickly. And we were, Matt Skor and I were talking about that as well. But the Maryville Pirates, they are proving that they are a force to be reckoned with, 44-7 over a Michigan City team that was really surging coming into this week.
Yeah, our guy Jay Simmons predicted the Michigan City Wolves on RFW. We got that unrecorded tape that they'd walk out with this win, and that was not the case. Maryville got ahead of them early and never looked back. It was definitely a letdown in terms of Michigan City and what they did out there. Maryville, I mean, this is a team that is really starting to kind of prove themselves. Again, a couple blemishes on their record with, you take on Loyola Academy and Crown Point. Those are some of the best losses you could have in the area, in the Midwest, we could just about say at this given time. And this is a Maryville team that we talked about Andrean sealing in the two-way class. I mean, looking at the potential sectionals, Maryville has ran through their respective sectional, and looking at sectional 10 with Michigan City, with Chesterton, with some of these Duneland schools, I mean, Maryville's floor as well could be quite high, and their ceiling, again, obviously that elusive semi-state round,
right?
Of course, that semi-state championship, but this team has the pieces. Michael Hill Jr., you and I were talking about before we got on. You had a chance to watch him in the opener, and he's looking like a pro. It's his first full season with the Maryville Pirates, and again, he accounted for 336 total yards of offense, 3 total touchdowns, did not turn the ball over. Truly, truly impressive. And this team, it does not end there. Warren Brown had a 95-yard punt return. That's a secondary that limited this Michigan City offense that's been very, very potent to its fewest points, fewest total yards on the season. Michael Hill Jr. outgained them on his lonesome. This Maryville team, truly, truly impressive to see what they've, how they've rebounded over these, those first few losses. For Michigan City, it's, you have 2 tough losses on your record. But it was definitely one of those games coming into this one, Michael, where it's like, okay, could we not really talk about Maryville as, that second team in the Duneland? We've been so accustomed to it over these past few seasons, but right now Maryville, they're still kind of in that upper echelon in the conference.
Let me ask you this. I know Crown Point won't want to do this, but if we were to move that matchup later in the schedule, would that help Maryville in a matchup against Crown Point? Do you think having it week 3 in the season, like, not necessarily it doesn't hurt them in any way, but if you were to back that up week 5, 6, 7, does that change anything, do you think, right now? Or do you still, do you really still think that Crown Point is that gap? I mean, we saw it in week 3, the gap is still there, obviously. And that's not a fault to Maryville at all. That's just a true testament to where this Crown Point team is.
Sure.
But does that even shrink? We were talking about maybe that shrinking. Does that shrink anymore? Would it be a little bit more intriguing to maybe move that later in the season?
That's a good question. With you're talking about with these current renditions of the squads, I would say I don't know if I'd see much of a difference. These are, Crown Point. They looking not to harp about Crown Point, and we're talking about Maryville and Michigan City, but that's a team that young at some positions, especially quarterback, and we could talk about them as we kind of get more into the show, but that position is evolving over there at Crown Point after their recent performance. And Maryville, I guess they're kind of young at that position too with Michael Hill Jr. So those question marks maybe heading into week 3 and that first third of the season, I think that they would all kind of, still see that growth and kind of almost end up in the same spot as where we kind of saw it in week 3. So it's an interesting thing. Obviously, those week 3, you're probably a lot healthier as a team compared to week 7, week 8, and but it's a good question. But I mean, it's really tough to go against Crown Point right now. But this Maryville team, I would say, it's also really tough to go against this Maryville team right now if you're not Crown Point. And again, that's why Maryville, when they kind of take it down to that 5A class, when they get to the the tournament, I mean, it might be tough to see anybody kind of hold a flame to them, at least in those first 2 pairings, I guess. So the sectional, an area that they've really had success with. And then whoever they potentially have coming out of sectional 10, which is, again, Valparaiso, Chesterton, LaPorte, Michigan City, all teams they will be familiar with. And to see, they got Valpo later in the year, Michigan City, obviously, we'll see what they did against them. They got LaPorte here this Friday, and Chesterton, I think they got later in the year as well. So I don't know. I mean, I think the sky's the limit for this team. And Michigan City back to the drawing board. I think that's kind of a humbling loss, similar to what we saw with Hobart. They got to get back to the drawing board and gear up, because that 5A sectional that I mentioned, it's definitely wide open given some results of some other games.
We'll talk about Michigan City just a little bit because they have a matchup against Lake Central. There was a lot of fireworks in that game a couple of years ago at Lake Central,
right.
So that'll be an interesting one to talk about later on. Moving down the line of scores from week, again, we are recapping week number 5. You had the Munster Mustangs over the Chicago Central Cardinals, 44-30. Congratulations over here, former Mustang.
Yes,
talk about a big-time score. You had the Morton Governors over the Falcons, Fallon Academy, 62-0. That's a big-time score for sure.
That is. Running clock was in full effect there. That game was played on Saturday. We'll talk about Morton later a bit in the show, but this is a favorable schedule for them coming up, to say the absolute least.
Another team that kind of had a nice bounce-back victory was the Griffith Panthers, 49-7 over the River Forest Ingots. I tell you what, this Griffith team, we were talking about things that might be a little bit special here in the region. Is that a team that you're still thinking might have a little special magic over there?
No, for sure. And I think this team is very motivated, because one thing we did not really highlight on too much in last week's Region Football Weekly episode, Michael, if you don't mind, Phil Mason, their head coach, he's been sidelined. He was sidelined for this game as well as the game previously. He had a case of pneumonia going on. We talked with him a little bit. I talked with him before we kind of released stuff out to the public, because we know it was kind of resurfacing, and we knew there would be questions, of course. Why isn't Coach Mason on the sideline and whatnot? And he's doing fine. He had a procedure done that, of course, required him to visit to the ER and had to get surgery done to drain a lot of fluid from his lungs. But when you kind of get that old, you get a little bit more stubborn, and health be kind of you think you could go out on the field. Right. And he said that on his own, and it was kind of a wake-up call for him, but he's also very motivated to get back out there. He's hoping to be back on the field, and he's coming back to a group of guys that, yes, they're motivated. They want to do some great things for this community, and they keep putting up points like that after that wake-up call against Lowell. They have gotten back to their form, and it's after those first 3 games in the NCC. Now they kind of coast in the GSSC, and the schedule ramps up a little bit in the later parts of the season with this Griffith program as well. Who knows? That 3A sectional, you have Knox. It's a team that's lingering with the leading rusher, I believe, in the country, in Miles McLaughlin. I think he's number 1 or number 2. So, and you got an old friend over there in Russ Radke leading their program, but they don't want to look too far ahead yet. But it's great to see that Phil Mason, Coach Mason, I believe he's anticipating his return for tomorrow, and more so, again, this is just a motivated team that, again, they're going to put wins on the win column. Sure.
Yeah, can't wait to see him back on the sidelines here soon, and these guys are going to be all the more excited when he does get back into those huddles for sure.
Yeah, it was awesome. Before we move on, he even said that he was, I think, watching the game even at home. He couldn't stay away. One of those coaches, of course not. I think he was even texting coaches, trying to have meetings like that during the game, of course. As well. So just a football guy through and through. And again, yes. Us from Region Sports Network, we're happy he's doing all right. It's a scary thing for sure. It's one of those things that health in general is just something you can't take for granted, no matter how much you want to kind of push it off, or it's hey, I'm fine, I want to tough it out. Definitely an eye-opening thing for him, but for us here at Region Sports, good to hear he's doing all right.
Yeah, happy he's doing well, and again, can't wait to see him back out there on the field. Moving on down the line, you had the West Side Cougars, who were playing host to the Stratford Spartans, 19-12 though in favor of the Spartans over the Cougars.
It's Stratford coming from Tennessee, so that's quite the out-of-conference matchup there. West Side, a program that's been fairly consistent moving forward, kind of a tough start to the schedule here so far. Hoping to see kind of how they respond with Coach Boz, and always, typically a talented roster, especially in the GSSC, but kind of an unusual stretch here for the Cougars.
All right, a matchup that you got to see up close and personal was the Valparaiso Vikings, coming up just a little bit short against the Chesterton Trojans. This score would indicate this was a very close game, and by all accounts, it really was, but in the sense that both these teams were getting a lot of penalties, kind of just shooting themselves in the foot. And this one really probably, you watched it closer than I did, but my gut says that really anybody could have had this game.
I think so. We'll start with Valparaiso. That you harped on it. There were a lot of penalties. There are a lot of things that these two teams need to clean up. Kudos to Chesterton. We'll start there for winning their first Campbell Meridian Cup since the 2015 season. They snapped a 14-game losing streak to your biggest rival. So That alone is just awesome. But these are two teams that have to go back to the drawing board, and it was I don't know if Chesterton won this game or Valparaiso lost this game. It's kind of one of those where there was a lot of penalties on both sides. Whatever, you could have your opinions on what they were, but regardless, they were called, and there's something that at least looked wrong in a sense. Valparaiso had a touchdown taken off the board because a player started to turn upfield, and on a motion play, something they run so much in Valparaiso, started to turn upfield. The ball got thrown to them, and you can't move forward by the time that happens. Another penalty on Valpo. A 4th and 5. They forced a punt against Chesterton. Had 12 men on the field after the punt was well and gone. The very next play, which is a great call from Mark Peterson. It's football 101. Once you kind of get a deflated defense back on the field, what do? Take a shot.
Yeah.
And they did just that. Hunter Boyd found his man on a 4 vertical play, hit them with a touchdown as well. Valparaiso, they keep them on the field. And Chesterton, what's one good positive with them in this win is obviously they played the cleaner game than Valparaiso. They didn't turn the ball over. I believe they won the turnover battle 1-0, which was Lucas Anderson had a big pick in the 4th quarter to nearly seal the game on Kellen Hosick. But with Chesterton, their rushing attack is really coming alive here. It was a little bit more balanced, compared to what we saw from Chesterton last year. Hunter Boyd, though, is doing a great job in kind of the role that he's given. Again, a sophomore quarterback. He's able to make those throws, especially when the run game's going, Michael. Andrew Govea had 37 carries for 169 yards and a touchdown, but a lot of these passing yards from Hunter Boyd, which he had 99, 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, a lot of play action stuff. So when you're able to churn out a couple yards with Andrew Govea, which is what he did all night, about 4 or 5 yards, breaking a couple tackles, they would hammer 6 to 8 run plays just in a row, bang, 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 and then you throw in the play action there. Often found guys wide open for touchdowns. The Chesterton defense as well caused Kellen Hosick to have a little bit of fits. Got to the backfield, a fair amount, a couple sacks, a couple balls that were thrown just out of harm's way. But this Chesterton team, I'm really excited to see because they're getting healthier as well up front. This might be a team that really gets better over time. And again, in that sectional where we talked about Valparaiso, Chesterton, Michigan City, and LaPorte, it's tough to pick a winner. And Chesterton, I would say they have a fair case to potentially walk out with their first sectional title in program history.
I was just going to ask if I had to guess what your answer would be, if you were to pick this team for a particular reason, I guess you would pick it because of the defense.
Yeah.
The offense is coming along. The offense is looking good. But if the defense is if they're as good come sectionals as they're playing right now, and the offense is clicking like this is a team that very well could make a statement in sectionals. And I think a lot of it has to do with how strong that defense is.
I would say so. They just play complementary ball. They keep their defense off the field. That's the name of the game. They want to keep them fresh when they're milking the clock and having that rushing attack of Andrew Govea, keeping guys fresh, having a healthier offensive line, a couple of big guys up front returning, and leaving that defense to rest up, to recoup, to watch some film, and get back on the field and do what they need to do. But they have a strong defensive line as well. Zane Westerlund was a name that we called a lot. He was in the backfield a ton, one of their top junior edge rushers that's going to make a name for himself here coming up. But I wouldn't put it past Valparaiso as well, but they really have a lot to clean up. We didn't get the number on penalties, but looking even at the week before with their loss against Michigan City, I believe that number was it was a lot. I believe it was 130. I think 12 penalties, 130 yards against Michigan City. And that game was obviously decided by a score. So if a couple of those go your other way,
right,
or don't happen at all, I should say, then that game's a heck of a lot different. It's very uncharacteristic what we're seeing from Valparaiso, and it's just stuff that they have to clean up if they want to keep up their sectional streak and just make some noise and get back to the standard of what Valparaiso football is. Because a 1-4 record, that is uncharacteristic, to say the absolute least.
All right, we're going to take a step aside here for just a minute. We'll be right back to the Centier Bank Studios here at the Athletic Performance Factory. This is Region Football Weekly, brought to you by Tire Pros in Maryville on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
At Strachan Van Til, we believe grocery shopping should be simple. Now, shopping is easier than ever with our new and improved website. Find what you need fast. Browse your favorite products, add them to your cart, and check out in just a few quick steps. Choose between convenient in-store pickup or let us handle the heavy lifting. From our shelves to your doorstep, skip the lines, shop your way, and spend more time on what matters most. With our rewards program, enjoy incredible savings and personalized offers every time you shop. Shop online now at strachanvantil.com or download our app today.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. If you're a contractor, it's my job to make your insurance coverage simple and affordable. Because I know time is money, I'll come to your business. Certificates and bonds are a snap. Wherever you are, whatever business you're in, we've got you covered. As Crowell Companies Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Companies, insurance professionals. Highland, Merrillville, and Michigan City.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
From lighting up Friday night football to powering the classrooms that shape the students of Lake County, IBEW Local 697 is proud to support our region's schools and the communities we call home. A career as a union electrician could be your next great move. Your next cap might be a hard hat. IBEW Local 697, powering futures, powering the region.
Four Seasons Mechanical proudly serves Northwest Indiana, providing quality, reasonably priced, reliable service. With a quality and comfort guarantee, the professionals at Four Seasons Mechanical offer a wide range of services in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Whether it's residential or commercial, Four Seasons Mechanical is there 24/7. To find out more, the website is fourseasonsmechanical.com or give them a call at 219-756-7020. Four Seasons Mechanical, your indoor air quality specialists.
Flip the switch, a light turns on. Press the button, machines and instruments come to life. Touch the screen, communicate with the world. Simple tasks, guaranteed results, every second of every day. That's the power of power. And that's the power brought to you by the NECA contractors and electrical workers of Local 531.
Welcome back. Region Football Weekly here on the Region Sports Network, presented by Tire Pros in Maryville. I know one thing that I'm probably going to have to do here soon, Mike, after we get out of here. I'm going to need to get a haircut. Any suggestions on where I might be able to go to get one? It is getting long. I really do.
I do know just a place here in Highland. Head to Level Up Barber Lounge for a well-executed cut, like a well-executed play. Make your appointment on the Booksy app with Big L, Big C, or Axel. That is Level Up Barber Lounge in Highland. Go check them out. Not too far from our office, so we'll be sure to get you right before we get going here. But big shout out to those guys at Level Up Barber Lounge over there.
It's hard to get this guy right, but I'm sure they can do just that. All right, let's move into our Enigenberg Home Improvement Top 10. First, we're going to start with the outside looking in. So we're going to talk about who is just outside the top 10. So the committee felt that these teams, we got three of them we're going to talk about, that there were three teams that just didn't have enough votes to make it into the top 10. One of those teams is the Valparaiso Vikings, who were in the top 10 and have fallen out. And I'll tell you what, it is weird to see the Valparaiso Vikings not somewhere in this top 10.
I'm trying to think, when was the last time that would be? 2022, they won.
Get the research staff on this.
We'll have to. Yeah, it'll take a little bit of research to see the absolute least. Because it's been a weird season for Valparaiso. This record could be completely different, Michael. They've had 3 one-score losses on the year, and so far through we talked about sectional 10, they're 1-2 versus those potential opponents they're going to see in late October and November. So this is a team that has to limit those penalties. They cannot be beating themselves, because they're going to have another tough game come tomorrow night. And it might be their swan song here in the bubble, as they take on the number 1 Crown Point Bulldogs. And that's, if you have over 130 penalty yards, again, like they did against Michigan City, if you have anything close to that, good luck against the Crown Point Bulldogs. But this team, they have to get better if they want to get in the top 10, but let alone stand a chance. In the sectional right now, they played these teams, and they have not really had quite an answer for them. Both of those losses were one-score losses as well. So they have to do those little things right and play a good 4 quarters of football to really get back on track and start to kind of get things going in the right direction. But it's weird.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's not something I'm used to seeing. Normally somewhere in the top 5 or somewhere in there. Another team that is on the outside looking in is the Lake Station Eagles, who you saw right here on the Region Sports Network this past week. So they beat Whiting 36-28. We talked about that. This is one of their best starts in like half a century. I mean, and they're on the outside looking in.
That was on your bingo card. That's
you know what? I'm not going to claim that one. I'm not going to take that one because, I don't go back 50 years, but, you guys do on the committee, so.
Fair enough. No, it's impressive. It's
I should say John Harrell goes back and looks at that 50 years.
That's for sure. That's for sure. But again, some names to watch out for this rushing attack. They're gonna beat you on the ground, and they're a team to watch out for in the GSSC in their respective divisions. But they milk the clock, and they don't make too many mistakes on the rushing attack. 334 rushing yards a game, led by Oscar Alderson, David Parker, and Cade McNeil. All these guys have north of over 430 rushing yards on the season and 4 touchdowns. In case the rushing attack wasn't enough, Harry Vargas, their junior receiver, has 161 receiving yards for 3 touchdowns. But especially, we were very, very impressed this Saturday with the quarterback play of David Parker. Just a tough runner. Does the job that he's required to do at the quarterback position. When they'll roll him out and maybe make you think it's a run, and then they'll bloop it over your head and find a player like Vargas for a touchdown.
Were you talking about that rushing attack? Leading into our next team here, one of the guys we had to keep from rushing to the committee to ask him what was going on was Justin Cole, making sure, because he's trying to figure out how does he get his Calumet Warriors into this top 10 list. It's a hard list to get into. He's got his questions that he was asking. He's wanting to ask. I think he put it in the suggestion box at some point. But yeah, the Calumet Warriors, they're also just on the outside looking in. And probably, as we kind of talked about, maybe they are that true 11, maybe 10B team, if you will.
Yeah, it's a very exclusive club, first and foremost here, Michael, that top 10 list. But that's
so is that committee. I can't get on it. They won't let me on.
But Calumet is knocking on the door. It's if you really want to look at the top 10 list, it's been kind of just tough to crack, looking at the teams that have been ahead of them and the teams that lost and whatnot. And yeah, that loss to Highland, that 1-point loss, is still kind of a head-scratcher, but to see what they've been doing with this new look team, and Bryce Brandon, we talked about 304 yards rushing on 23 carries, 6 touchdowns. One of those new pieces. He played a little bit of Hammond Central last year. I believe he was kind of a quarterback / athlete / running back, a little bit of everything up there. Now his role at the running back position really shining up there. He's been having kind of getting more acclimated to the Calumet culture, and with his new teammates, his new coaching staff, and excelling as they're going forward. And this is a team that, again, could really shake up the GSSC. That division especially is quite competitive with Griffith and Wheeler in that side of the GSSC. Why can't the Calumet Warriors get in this top 10 and maybe, just maybe, win that division outright?
I mean, there's going to be a whole party here at the Athletic Performance Factory if they
I'll
do
tell
get
you who's
in.
hosting too.
I know, yeah. Justin's going to be having a really good time. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 10 in this Ennigenberg Home Improvement Top 10 list. You've got the Morton Governors coming in at 3-2 on the year. They just got a big win this past Saturday, so they are officially in.
Yeah, the win wasn't much of, I'll say this, a resume builder. 62-0 over Fallon Academy. That team, no disrespect, I mean, have yet to really put points up on the board this season. Just kind of one of those games that you have to find when you have a small out-of-conference schedule, and it gets a little bit easier for Morton. I mean, they got Calumet Christian this Saturday. That's another team that is maybe just not to the level of what Morton is, or what maybe some of these future opponents in the sectional may be. So that might be a struggle for that Morton team going forward. Now, that said, it may add to some wins. It may add to some confidence boosters, and maybe getting players on the field on Friday or Saturday afternoons, I guess we could say. But this is a team that should not get complacent, because this is, I'd say, a lighter stretch to the schedule. I mean, they have Hammond Central after Calumet Christian that's also trying to find their identity. That conference, I'd say, for Morton right now is easily theirs to lose. They're far and away the favorite. They have East Chicago in Week 9. One game we'll look out for is they got Hobart at the Brickyard in Week 8. I'd say that's far and away their biggest test for the rest of the year, and I don't know what comes close until that 5A sectional begins. So Morton, expect to see them here maybe a little bit. I mean, this is still a very talented roster, and we're not going to discredit what they do with the schedule. It's kind of the cards that you're dealt. You have to go find these opponents, because obviously when we're in the thick of the season, Michael, these teams are kind of accounted for with conference schedules. So you really have to venture out, and if that's the case, an opponent is better than no opponent.
Yeah.
But I mean, in this case, it's they're in, and they're expected to stay. And this is a talented roster, and expect them to stay. But really intrigued to see how they progress and rebound off of what potentially be these big-time wins.
And there's always chances for them to jump ahead of some teams as well, depending on how things shape out,
That's
especially because we've got a couple of Duneland Athletic Conference teams that are coming up next. First, at number 9 are the Chesterton Trojans. A couple of back-to-back wins here these last couple weeks after some losses to start the year, but this is a resilient team and a team that, as you get closer to sectionals, if they continue to play and they stay healthy, this is going to be a team to be reckoned with.
And then when it gets cold, I don't want to tackle Andrew Gobea.
Heck no.
I don't want Ole. Let me get a couple more hats on the ball to bring him down, because it starts with him offensively, but this is a defense too that is fierce. They had to replace a couple pieces, but their linebackers especially, I was incredibly impressed with. Lucas Anderson, again Zane Westerlund, who's doing some great job off the edge. They have a secondary that was very solid against a Valparaiso pass-heavy offense. A lot of guys that can tackle in space, which is huge in the Doom. And again, an offensive line that, I read that they were just more healthy, and getting that first unit back out there on the field is crucial for a team that runs the football as much as the Chesterton Trojans do. And in that sectional, I would say Chesterton might have either the best or the second best chance, I can say, of coming out of that sectional with the trophy in their hand.
Would be interesting to see. Another team that is looking to continue getting back into the win column is the Michigan City Wolves after their loss to Maryville this past week. But they're looking for a bounce-back win tomorrow night against Lake Central. So Michigan City coming in at number 8.
Yeah, they had 2 quality losses, kind of similar to Chesterton, I guess, about the Trojans. They lost to this Michigan City team and Hobart. In Michigan City, again, they lost to Maryville, and then they took on a great Lafayette Jefferson team earlier in the season. So I'd say we'd like to expect more in those 2 losses for Michigan City. They were both kind of similar game scripts where they fell behind super early. They caught up maybe a little bit, showed some promise, but the things got away from them, and it was just too little too late at that point. Michigan City, they're eliminating those 1-score losses that we saw a lot last year, which is great. But, at this point, it's how do you respond? You got a real chance at a bounce-back game tomorrow night against Lake Central. You have to hop on a bus, though, and go to the burial grounds and get ready to play, and you can't start out flat. It's going to be an emotional night that we'll talk about later in the show. And one thing I'm especially looking forward to, because I know this rule's in effect, and I believe 2 Michigan City players got ejected in that game against Maryville. I believe they missed the first half against Lake Central, so they might be even a little bit short-handed against the Tribe. So that's something you got to watch out for. It's one of those things where, again, that Maryville game, I think it just got a little bit ugly as of late. Obviously when you're down at that margin, you just want the game to end. I believe even a fire alarm went off, and it was just all.
Yeah, I saw a report.
It was super interesting, but it was the status of those couple players, and I think Coach Cody French will get these guys moving in the right direction, getting their heads screwed on tight, because this is a talented football team. We've seen the flashes so far, and again, they're in that sectional that it's definitely up for grabs.
No question about it. Another team that's trying to have a little bit of a magical season. They're hoping to get their coach back on the sidelines here soon, as he's been battling pneumonia, but you got the Griffith Panthers coming in at number 7.
Griffith, again, not much can be said about them. I think now that they're really kind of punching even in the GSSC after that 3-game NCC start, this is a team that is very, very hungry. I think similar to what we said about Hobart, you suffer that loss early in the season to Lowell. This team is going to have their head on straight, and they do not want another blemish on their schedule at all. And if they do, they want it to be deep in the season with a couple trophies in their hands. So expect this team to maybe win a few more games, and they got an intriguing end to the schedule that would potentially side their side of the GSSC.
Another team to talk about that's staying right at that number 6 spot is the Wheeler Bearcats. Didn't play this past week because of some unfortunate situations that took place or potentially could have taken place. Thankfully they didn't, but just some craziness over there, unfortunately, which had to postpone the game. So the Wheeler Bearcats going to stay at number 6.
Yeah, that's really, really sad, Michael. We don't have to harp on this too much, but it's just really unfortunate for the players, for everybody involved, and kudos to everybody at Wheeler High School. That's a very sticky and difficult situation and decision you have to make. It's not only they canceled the game, but it was homecoming, like you said. They had to cancel the dance, and it's I believe we're going to have to find out if there's any sort of rescheduling. I'd like to say there would be for the dance. But in terms of the game, obviously it's a conference game, and it's something that may need to be made up. But it's besides that, whatever rescheduled, it's a very unfortunate situation, and happy everybody's okay. Nothing, everybody made the right decisions.
Right.
Nothing transpired. But about the ranking, Wheeler still a great football team. They're ready to come back. Hopefully, play this Friday, of course, play tomorrow night, and have the same results they've had in these first 4 games.
Yeah, you mentioned it stings for the football team. It stings for everybody
involved,
because all the festivities that are canceled as a result of that. But yeah, like you said, right call. Glad everyone is safe. That's the best thing and most fortunate thing when it comes to that. So moving on down the line, number 5, the Lowell Red Devils defeating Highland this past week. Lowell just kind of in that winning ways, the only undefeated team in the NCC right now.
Lowell cracking the top 5. That's been quite some time since we've seen that as well. It feels like
Wait. I think I hear RDP chants all the way over from Lowell. I think I hear those.
I thought I heard something. I know there was some construction still going on here at Athletic Performance Factory, but it might just be the RDP chants.
At one point it was Justin clamoring for Calumet, but now, it's those RDP chants.
But I'll tell you what, they deserve to be cheering, to say the absolute least. This team is playing some very, very good football, especially since week 1. Since then, 38.25 points per game for this Lowell Red Devil offense. Timothy James, the younger brother of Ike James, following where his brother left off with a dominant rushing attack. Only a sophomore, 186 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns against Highland. Their quarterback, Brody Kowinski, is no slouch. Either had 100 on the day with a touchdown on his own. And this Lowell team, very, very impressive so far. Just, again, a team that has responded valiantly since that week 1 loss to Crown Point, and they're gunning for that NCC title. And again, in that 4A sectional, that it is completely up for grabs. It's been New Prairies, and if there's a coach that knows a thing or two about winning in that sectional, it's Casey McKim.
Yep, no question about it. Talking down the line here, a team that's looking to bounce back this coming week, tomorrow night. In fact, you've got the Hobart Brickies, who suffered their first loss against the Andrean 59ers.
Yeah, we harped on it a lot on kind of the game recap, but it's for Lowell. I think the positive with this is getting punched in the mouth and learning what it's like to lose and not be kind of those world beaters that they were in the first 4 weeks, taking on some teams that are really going through kind of a rebuilding process outside of the Chesterton Trojans, which, again, that was a week 1 game where they're starting a sophomore quarterback. So we could talk about all the ifs and asterisks and whatnot, but Hobart, this was a big-time test, and it was one that they did not pass. They're going to have to gear up and get ready for another test come tomorrow night because they're taking on that 5th-rated Lowell Red Devil team at the Brickyard. And that's a sectional opponent there, Michael. Those are 2 teams that are going to be gunning for something bigger than just that game. It's going to be a trophy in their trophy case, and what two better teams that have illustrious trophy cases like the Lowell Red Devils and the Hobart Brickies. But for this Bricky squad, the offense especially hopes to get back on track. I think the defense did their part, holding Andrean to 17 points. But again, Hobart did not score until very, very late in the 4th quarter, and just about that, it was too little, too late. So they got to recoup. Alex Tatum, he's the guy under center. Did a great job in those first 4 games of the season. Obviously, a tough Friday night against Andrean, but they're ready to get back on track and potentially move up this list and build up some momentum for sectional play.
I said Lowell was one of the only unbeaten teams. Andrean is also unbeaten in the NCC as well. I'm going to correct that mistake on my part. So Andrean, moving on down the line, they are number 3 in our Enigenberg top 10 list. They are also undefeated in the NCC, and as we've mentioned, this is a team that really kind of controls their own destiny at this point. They probably have the highest ceiling of anybody in Northwest Indiana.
No doubt about it. And again, Andrean, I think just the makeup of this team, looking at how that game went against Hobart, this offense is really starting to come around. It was kind of more of a rushing attack led by Ethan Rana, who's going to do some great things for this Andrean program, not only for the rest of the season, for his senior season as well coming next year. He had a day, 86 rushing yards, 8 tackles, a sack, and a touchdown. But this passing offense is starting to come alive, led by Tyler Vo, only a sophomore wide receiver. 9 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown. Brady Ellish had his best game of the season with 19 of 23 for 175 yards, a touchdown. Also had an interception on defense. And it's a Hobart Bricky defense that has been a very, very stout, promising game from an Andrean offense. Their defense is fantastic as well, holding that Hobart offense at bay. But I think this team is just very, very complimentary. A lot of guys still playing both ways, given their enrollment, given the size of their team. But they got some cats, man. And again, this is a team that really has a real shot at winning this NCC outright, which hasn't been, I think an outright title has been done in quite some time. I believe 2 years ago, Hanover won it outright in their first year. I know last year was a 3-way tie, but Andrean, they want the whole thing. They definitely got the team for it.
All right, moving down, we go back to 2 DAC teams. You got the Maryville Pirates. We're going to get that big win over City this past week. They go back to the number 2 spot.
They just another complete game. I'd say the biggest surprise of the weekend, Michael, was the Maryville Pirates going to Michigan City, going to Ames Field, and just taking care of business. And this is a team that they got their sights set high. They don't want a sectional. They don't want a regional title. They want the state title. They want to get to Lucas Oil Stadium. This team has the pieces to do it, and they got a quarterback that I think is the leading candidate for a first team all area selection. on the Region Sports Network, and potentially just, I mean, the best quarterback in the area. I mean, we could just say, just, you know, regardless of class, regardless of whatnot. I mean, he's just productive. He's holding on to the football. Michael Hill Jr. I mean, doing this in year one with his squad, it's very, very impressive. And they got a running back in J.Q. Johnson that scored. They got a great defense that they never seem to be average in a year. No. It always seems that unit always rebuilds, retools, and gets ready to go. And this is a team that very, very dangerous. You know, once Crown Point's now off, you know, that's dead and gone. Whatever you need some help with the deal, and if you want to win a share, now it's okay. You know, let's gear up for sectional. Let's gear up for the regional. Let's build up some momentum, because that's what we saw last year from this team, which made their way all the way to semi-state.
And then at the usual spot, the Crown Point Bulldogs at number 1. Again, 32 consecutive regular season victories. What was it, 24 in the Newland Athletic Conference. I mean, going all the way back to 2022. Absolutely incredible run these two. You know, you were kind of mentioning earlier that it's easy to kind of forget and not be in the moment and enjoy this run, because this is pretty unprecedented. We haven't seen a run like this in quite some time. Just this amount of success. And really, I guess it kind of happened with the girls basketball program not that long ago to an extent. But man, oh man, this is fun to watch. It's fun to be a small part of. We get to go and cover these teams and just to watch this on a weekly basis and cover these teams. And it's simply incredible. And when it does end, because at some point it will end, it's just a matter of how long until that is. You know, you're going to think back to the glory days of Crown Point football. Like, oh, this was the Mecca, because at some point it has to turn the other way. You don't want it to, but at some point it has to, because every team goes through that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is the glory days, like you said. I mean, the history of Crown Point football, I believe, when they won semi-state in 2023, I believe that was their first semi-state title in program history, if not their second. That might have been the regional, but whatever it is, I mean, they're adding new stuff to the trophy case this team around, and they're hoping to multiply those and make this kind of the standard, and they're doing that so far. And when you even compare the glory days of Crown Point football or the previous years and seasons and teams, even looking at the bigger picture, is you haven't seen this since some of the Don Howell days with Hobart. You've seen some Russ Radke, Griffith teams that it's not what region team's going to beat them, it's what team outside of the region is going to beat them. And that's kind of the case with Crown Point. And I think one thing that was a question that was potentially answered in their win against Portage was, who's that guy under center? I mean, we saw a lot of Cooper Milaski and Tice Custy, but Custy this time around, 17 of 20, had the bulk of the action, 232 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, a Valparaiso transfer, only a junior as well. His best game of the season, and who knows, if they at least get an answer at quarterback, and they obviously have a great backup if that happens to be the case, but that's an impressive performance from the junior quarterback, who's obviously getting acclimated to his new program.
All right, we're going to take a step aside again, and when we come back, we'll take a preview at some of the games that are going to take place tomorrow evening. So you are watching Region Football Weekly, brought to you by Tire Pros in Maryville. We are more than tires, from the Cintier Bank Studios at the Athletic Performance Factory. Region Football Weekly coming back on the other side of the break on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
With electrical services from Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, you can radiate the perfect amount of light and energy into your home. From rewiring and code upgrades to ceiling fans, lighting, security, and more, Economy Electric Heating and Cooling's trained electricians will make sure you can enjoy your home on full power all the time. For a free estimate on electrical work, call Economy Electric Heating and Cooling at 219-923-4441, and you can visit them on the web at forajobdoneright.com. That's the number 4ajobdoneright.com.
Earn while you learn from the best hands in the business. The Bricklayers Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. That's right, this is a paid apprenticeship.
I'm getting an education while learning a trade and getting paid for it.
The thing that surprised me the most about this apprenticeship program is the respect I've received after the proper time and training.
Classes start soon, so apply now. There are training centers throughout Indiana and Kentucky. We are the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. The best hands in the business.
Level up your haircut at Level Up Barber Lounge in Highland. With over 30 years of combined experience, walk in today and get treated by some of the best in the business. To book an appointment, call 219-513-9083.
Calling all current and future homeowners in the Northwest Indiana area. Whether you're buying or selling, Brent Wright is here to make your real estate journey smooth and successful. With years of experience, personalized service, and a deep knowledge of the market, Brent will help you find the perfect place or get the best deal for your property. Call today at 219-406-7195 and take the first step toward your real estate goals. Contact Brent Wright, the right way to buy and sell real estate.
Life isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet moments that matter the most. Of effort, of a dream taking root. And behind those moments, there's trust. Thank you for trusting Centier Bank with those moments and making us a part of your story. Thank you for the opportunity to earn your trust.
Or hit up Big Al, Big C, or Axel at the Booksy app or webpage. Head to Level Up Barber Lounge in Highland for a well-executed cut like a well-executed play. The Athletic Performance Factory is Northwest Indiana's premier athletic training center. The 40,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility features batting cages, a sand training room, a new outdoor turf infield, and so much more. Check out the facility for one of their daily classes at 3150 45th Street in Highland. Interested in signing up for team workouts or individual lessons? Check out their website at trainapf.com or contact them at 219-750-1087. Athletic Performance Factory, where athletes are made.
Hey, welcome back. This is Region Football Weekly here on a Thursday night, brought to you by Tire Pros in Maryville. We are more than tires. Centier Bank Studio from the Athletic Performance Factory. Michael Brander, Mike Dewan here, sports director for the Region Sports Network. Week 6, here we go. Let's lock in. We got plenty of good games for you coming your way. We'll talk about all these games. We'll talk about the ones that we're going to have right here on the Region Sports Network this week. We are still in homecoming season, so some of these games are going to be homecoming games. We'll let you know the ones that we know of for sure. Some of them are not until October, but yeah, we'll work it all out. One of the big games to keep an eye on this week, Andrean versus Highland. Andrean number 3 in our RSN poll, by the way.
Yeah, Andrean, hoping to keep the tracks rolling, keeping things going. Highland
keeping it crispy.
Keeping it crispy, to say the absolute least. Highland welcoming in. They trying to get back on track, but Andrean, an absolute tough matchup against. That team's looking good. And again, we harped on them a lot earlier in the Enningenberg home improvement top 10 setting. They're trying to punch in, punch out, and then keep their NCC hopes alive.
All right, Hammond Central, they're going to take on, this is probably one of my favorite mascots that I've heard in the last couple of years. How about the Thunderbolts of Andrew coming in out of Illinois to take on the Hammond Central Wolves?
That's my cousin's alma mater. So
there you go.
Big shout out to them, the Thunderbolts.
The Thunderbolts. Love it.
Gotta love it. But yeah, Hammond Central, like we said, hoping to get back on track. Don't know too much about Andrew, I'll tell you that. So I'll ask my cousins about how the football team's looking this year.
All right.
But Hammond Central, just trying to find some sort of momentum, some sort of some small victories, whether it's on the scoreboard or on the field, and some positives to take out of these games. Because obviously, yeah, you look at how this first part of the season has gone. Yeah, it's not one to remember, but there's good to come out of this one way or another, and you got to find that. And you got to really dig deep, whether that results in wins or something that doesn't result something in the win column. So.
Make sure to stay tuned for the tailgate show tomorrow, because Mike will have a full breakdown on the Thunderbolts getting in ready for this game. That's the homework, getting ready for this game tomorrow night. Lake Station going to be playing host to the Bishop Knoll Warriors. Should be a really intriguing one there.
Lake Station can run the football. Bishop Knoll is still a program that's trying to find that identity. I don't know, tough to go against Lake Station right now. They're playing some good football. They could pound the rock and keep hold of the football. Bishop Knoll got to come ready to play.
All right, the North White Vikings are playing host to the Academy Eagles. That'll be always an intriguing one. Then on down the line, we go into the DAC. You got the Chesterton Trojans, a team that we're kind of thinking might be a team that can start cracking a little bit higher numbers here on the RSN poll down the future if they continue to play the way that they have. And it helps to kind of boost some numbers and boost some positivity when you're playing a team that's kind of spinning its wheels right now in the Portage Indians.
And I think for Chesterton, you kind of enter this part of the season where it's, can you win the games you're supposed to win? Can you perform the way you're supposed to perform against a team that's, like you said, is sputtering, is trying to find their identity? And Has Portage, although they've shown some fight in some of these games, they've played Maryville okay. They played Crown Point. I mean, it was close in the beginning. They had some flashes, but I mean, this is a game that Chesterton, if they keep playing the way they're playing, I think it's theirs to lose. They have to go there. They have to play the full quarters. They have to do their job, and that's kind of the case here. Where this team can win those close games, can milk the clock, can have some good quarterback play from Hunter Boyd, but can they do it consistently? And that's kind of where we get to now in this late second third of the season and start to entering in that final third of the season where can we do this on a Friday night basis? And I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll have that on the Region Sports Network tomorrow, an exciting one from the Warpath. But Portage, again, still a team that they're going to be hungry. They got nothing to lose. They can pull out all the stops. And the Chesterton team that, who knows, if they fall behind quickly, that's an offense that the one thing about their dominant rushing attack is if they were to fall behind, it's tough to kind of catch up very, very quickly. I think if you're Portage here, get out early, you're playing to your home fans, and try not to look behind you.
They're going to be clipping this video going, these guys don't know nothing. We're going to beat Chesterton Trojans this week.
What's new?
Yeah, what else is new? Yeah. Moving on down the line, you got the Culver Academy Eagles taking on the Kankakee Valley Cougars. See if the Kankakee Valley can make a comeback here. Culver Academy getting the win last week. Then, number 7, Griffith Panthers are trying to start this magical season, get something brewing there in Griffith, and they're taking on the East Chicago Central Cardinals. Yeah, it's East Chicago Central. They have the area's leading rusher in Darian Morris, who does some great things. They're able to score points up very, very in an efficient manner, but can they hold this Griffith offense at bay? That's very, very tough to do. That's a tall task for anybody. If, again, the status of Phil Mason, of course, if he's expected to make his return, that'd be awesome. Those players will be just ever more motivated to go out there and perform for him. If not, I'm sure they'll hold it down. Dimitri Blanco, I know, is their interim head coach or acting head coach, at least at this given time. And I'm sure Coach Mason will be texting from his home and watching the game and dialing up the plays or whatever, some words of motivation, and to get his guys ready. But no team wants this one more, I would say, than the Griffith Panthers moving forward. Munster Mustangs looking to capitalize on their victory last week, take on the Hanover Central Wildcats. This is going to be an intriguing one this week. I would say so. Munster, again, they're starting to at least turn a corner in terms of what we saw in year one against Ramos and St. Louis. And Hanover Central, this was a team that they've really had their way with, Hanover, in talking about Munster. But, again, we talked about this has been an interesting season, start to the season for Hanover Central. This game could very well end up close, and it could go just about either way. Hanover Central, I wouldn't say this is a game they could just walk into and expect to come out with the win here. All right, the Maryville Pirates, and again, you mentioned you can't just walk in and think you're going to get the win. This is one of those, the way this LaPorte team is playing, Maryville can't just expect to get this victory here this week. The LaPorte team, they're scrappy. I would say so. Yeah, that game we'll have on the Region Sports Network. An exciting one, but again, one piece to watch out for. I'm interested to see, again, how much Maryville keys in on who happens to be just nucleus of LaPorte's offense, and that's Reed Raymond. One thing about LaPorte, I would like to see how they would maybe utilize some other weapons. I mean, Aiden Penzio is their longtime quarterback who's done some great things, but I don't know if he could really be just focused on number one and utilize number one for your whole offense. This Maryville defense is too strong on all sides, in all aspects, all units, the linebackers, the D-line, the secondary. They're not going to let that slide, especially this LaPorte team. They're going to have to score some points because this Maryville offense, I mean, they are potent. And, again, you got one of the best quarterbacks in the area. Might be one of the best juniors, we could even say, in the state, is Michael Hill Jr. doing a great job here so far. And yeah, I mean, he's playing like it, Michael. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just it's Mike DeWan. Okay. No, high praise, right? For sure. We're going to put his phone number down at the bottom here. You can make those phone calls in. Put his email down there. But he's doing a great job. And he's a nucleus of that offense as well, and if you get them going, they get scoring points up very, very quickly, especially when they're at home. I mean, that's a real tough place to play. Good luck to LaPorte up there, but I mean, you got to come with your chin straps buckled and get ready to go because this Maryville team is fast. They're tough in the run game, they're tough in the passing game, and especially tough defensively. And that'll be an audio-only broadcast. We'll have that for you right here on the Region Sports Network. Another game that we're going to have, I forgot to mention it, my apologies. We will have that Chesterton-Portage game for you as well. Really intriguing matchup here coming up in the NCC. You've got the Lowell Red Devils taking on the Hobart Brickies over there in Hobart. That'll be a fun one. Definitely one to keep your eye on. I don't know what the read is on this one. Yeah, we talked about these are two sectional opponents. This could be kind of a sectional championship / final preview. I mean, obviously these two teams will hope to meet
at some point in October or potentially early November. But I think for Hobart right now, it's just how do you gear back up and get ready to go and take on a team that is very, very tough. Once again, we saw that last week against Andrean, and their plan fell flat. Their offense did not look up to par, and they fell behind and never was able to get back on track. And now you take on, again, a very, very motivated Lowell team that is, one thing about them, they're hoping to get their first win at the Brickyard, which just was kind of a crazy stat here, Michael. Their first win at the Brickyard in 5 meetings. That dates back to 2017. The Brickyard, a tough place to play.
Yes, it is.
And I think Hobart's going to, I think one thing for them is take in that home environment, use whatever you can, take your time on that intro when you're walking over the hill and to that Enter Sandman, that fantastic intro sequence they got up there, and really try to intimidate maybe those Lowell, win the mental battle, I would say, before the game, because it's been something they've been doing since then. And but this is a game that obviously some big-time implications. Lowell controls their destiny in the NCC. Hobart has a chance to they need some help, and the one way to do that if they want to stand a chance in the NCC and win at least a share of the title is to beat the Lowell Red Devils. If I were to give a prediction on this one, I don't know. It's tough to go against the home team. The stats don't lie in terms of how successful they've been against the Lowell Red Devils at home. I think it's a close one. I will say that, but the Brickyard, man, it's one of those places on a Friday night that it's going to be packed because, Lowell's going to travel well. Hobart, of course, is going to travel well, and it's in their backyard. And although Lowell, pretty run heavy.
My prediction in this one is that it is going to be a loud environment.
That's it.
Because you've got two of the most hyped fan bases meeting up in this one. This one's going to be fun. This is an atmosphere that'll definitely be off the charts. It'll be loud over there in Hobart. Yeah, I don't do the predictions. That would be your area, but
and even I'm trying to duck this one because Lowell has an offense that they're starting to kind of open up the passing game a little bit more, and they're putting up points up on the board. But this Hobart team, of course, as well. I feel like they could see a little bit more of a response for them heading into this week, being at home, not going to enemy territory. But it's one, I think it's too close to call. I guess we'll have to wait and find out tomorrow night. But it'll be on our Strack and Van Til hometown scoreboard as well, so feel free to check that one out as it's going on, updating throughout the night. But it's going to be a good one. It's going to be one you're going to want to tune in for a lot on our hometown scoreboard.
I'll be tuned into that one while I'm out on the road. Next matchup to talk about, the Michigan City Wolves are looking to bounce back and get back into the win column. If they're going to do it, Lake Central might be that opponent, but Lake Central playing on homecoming night, and this one was very entertaining a couple of years ago at Lake Central for homecoming. It was like final seconds and comebacks and wins for Michigan City. They would like to have a little bit more of that same energy.
This is going to be an interesting one. There's a lot of interesting dynamics. Obviously, we start with homecoming, which is a great night for the community, but homecoming as a player, there's a lot of distractions. It's a whole week thing, especially if you're a senior. You have certain dress days and certain, goofy activities at school and probably a pep rally and a parade. And there's a lot of, it's very easy to get caught up in all that. And especially this is a Lake Central team that really wants to walk out with a victory here. This has been their worst season. Opportunity for Lake Central, but that said, Michigan City, they also are quite hungry to get back in the win column. But again, we talked about it, Michael. I'm very intrigued to see what will happen. What pieces will be missing in action, at least for the first half in that game, because I believe there are a couple of players. The game got chippy late against Maryville. A couple of players were thrown out for some personal fouls. If those are some key pieces for Michigan City, Lake Central again has to take advantage very, very early and take advantage of those. Again, maybe some bus lag, we can call it, some sluggish legs, I guess we could say. It's a long bus ride.
It's gonna be a haul
from Michigan City to Lake Central.
Yeah, no question about it. A game that's gonna be played on Saturday. The Morton Governors go into Calumet Christian to take that Patriot team on, but that'll be on Saturday. Boone Grove will play host to the River Forest Ingots. And as we move back into the Duneland Athletic Conference, the #1 Crown Point Bulldogs, another home matchup. This time it'll be against the Valparaiso Vikings.
I think with this one, Michael, this was a game that was always kind of circled on our schedule, and now looking at it this year round, I think it's Crown Point's to lose. But that said, if Valparaiso wants to make this a 4-quarter game, they cannot have these penalties, these mental lapses that they've been having in these previous few weeks. They left I would say it was a 14-point swing against Chesterton last week that kept teams on the field, took points away from them, took a touchdown away, took momentum away, and it's just a lot of things that you just especially cannot do against the number one Crown Point Bulldogs. Going to Crown Point, they're going to have to not play a perfect game of football, but pretty dang close, and not to the way, at least, of where they've been playing these past few weeks. I think pass protection as well. This is a Valparaiso team that throws the football a lot in Crown Point. They got some fast linebackers, Trevor Gibbs to name just one, who he spends a lot of time in the backfield. They're going to be scheming up a lot of blitzes and trying to make things tough and rush up Kellen Hosick, who he has some flashes. He does a lot of great things, given the role that he is in, where he's required to be kind of this gunslinger behind center. But he has some throws that kind of gets out of harm's way. Some maybe luck out, some maybe end up in the hands of the defense. Crown Point wants to try and make as many of those errant throws as possible. They'll have to do that by testing the pass protection of Valparaiso.
Wheeler back in action this week. They will head out to West Side. Number 6 Wheeler Bearcats looking to get back. Obviously the events that happened, they weren't able to play last week. Yeah. Will that kind of throw them off, you think? Or do you think they're just going to be more, let's just get back to practice on Monday and right back to it and kind of carry on? Because, teams normally don't get a bye week.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, a bye week, like sometimes when you get to sectionals,
especially if you had some, nicks and scrapes and stuff.
When you look at like bye week, right? You go to the 5A sectional and like, okay, it's a 14 sectional. We're gonna get that bye week, but this type of bye week, Michael, I mean, it's such a terrible situation where it's like I'm supposed to have a pretty fun weekend where we're hoping to win this game on Friday and have a fantastic night on Saturday, and I mean everything just kind of gets ruined by, this alleged threat. And it's such a scary situation it's not your typical bye week, I guess we could say. When they're entering Friday, where they're thinking, hey, we're gonna buckle the chin straps and we're gonna play in front of our home crowd and we're gonna have a fun homecoming night, and that wasn't the case by the night's end. So it's a weird situation. I think for Wheeler, again, the schedule is very favorable, kind of similar to Griffith, where those two meet up in week 9, and I think they got Calumet later in the year. So Wheeler's hoping to kind of get back to business, but I think just the one thing that stinks about them is they were really on a roll. I think that thing is they wanted to keep just playing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at
cylinders. Right. I mean, I think that's the same. But one thing that's very interesting is you're not your typical bye week. Is that there's a lot of stuff that it's like, there's a lot of things to worry about first before Friday nights. But I think in terms of the playing aspect, like you said, I think that affects it as well. I mean, this is a team that they were outscoring opponents a lot to a little. They only given up 7 points all year, and they wanted to do it again on this last Friday night. That wasn't the case, and they're hoping to kind of follow suit come tomorrow night.
Last one, and another homecoming night over at Calumet as they will play host to the Whiting Oilers.
Whiting has shown some flashes. Obviously, a first-year head coach over there. It's been a whirlwind of an offseason for them. Thomas Knight has done some great things with the program. They got a great running back over there, Demetrio Lopez. But Calumet, they're going to play to their home fans. Always a fun night at homecoming, hoping to keep their head on straight. Obviously, it's a long week of a lot of fun things going on, but you've got to take care of business against a Whiting Oiler team that you want to try and play spoiler on homecoming night and to ruin the fun and ruin the parade. And Whiting a real chance to do that. They got a big test over there at Calumet.
All right, again, our games right here on the Region Sports Network. We will have LaPorte going into the Purple Palace to take on the Maryville Pirates. There will be an audio-only broadcast. And you got the number 9 Chesterton Trojans going into Portage to take on the Indians there. Michigan City going into St. John to take on the Lake Central Indians. So pretty good matchups around the Dublin Athletic Conference this week.
It seems to be week in and week out, Michael. It's one of those premier conferences up here in Northwest Indiana, and it's a conference that we've seen in these past few weeks that no result is set in stone.
Week is safe.
Nobody is safe every given Friday, so they say. Any given Friday, I guess we could say. It's one of those where you got to play the game. You have to play your brand of football, and especially at this time of year when you really have to take that identity that we learned in those first few weeks of the season and now really implement it, impose your will, and do what you need to do on a given Friday night, because that'll win you football games. But I guess you still got to play the games. You still got to play in between the sidelines and do your job. So I guess that's our job to find out. But that's why we're always looking forward to Friday nights, and that's why we're here on Thursday nights to break it all down and get ready to go.
As a wise man once said, you play to win the game.
Amen.
That's how it goes down there. Speaking of trying to win, we will have our wrestlers here in just a few short weeks. So we'll have a whole party going on there to get ready for the wrestling season.
October 5th, the preseason pinfall party will not be in this exact location. It'll actually be, I believe, in the grass field, not too far from here. This place, we're super close to getting it done. They're doing some great things over here. Big kudos to them. But about the wrestlers, yes. October 5th, there will be 2 sessions, I believe 12 to 3 and then 4 to 7. Something similar to what we did with the football kind of preseason party where we're welcoming in schools from all across Lake, Porter counties, and LaPorte counties as well, coming on down to the Athletic Performance Factory for kind of an introductory party as we gear up for the wrestling season. Obviously, we're still in the part of football season, but wrestling too as well. Something that I've been fortunate enough to kind of be around and see just the fandom and talent, of course, as well in Northwest Indiana. So it's a super cool first-year opportunity for us to host something like this and to be introduced to these great wrestlers and coaches and these great programs. Not only on the boys' side, but also, again, the girls' side of wrestling is growing tremendously. Just a super excited event. So mark your calendars, October 5th. Again, kind of an all-day thing here at the Athletic Performance Factory. Again, that is the preseason pinfall party hosted by Danny Bell, and a couple other wrestling personalities will be helping us out there that day.
And there's no Bears game, so therefore you have no excuse to not watch. So it's perfect.
Bye week, baby.
Bye week. There we go. Perfect. All right. Anything else you got for us?
I think we recapped it all. Yeah, we'll have a studio presence come again tomorrow. I believe I will be here holding it down with Andrew Mild. So we'll have some fun in here. We got the RSN Zone coming back with our multi-stream going on, tapping into a few games. We have the tailgate show, the wrap-up show, and of course we got our 3 games like you said. Track Advance to Hometown Scoreboard as well, so feel free to check out for that. And yeah, another Friday, before you know it, it'll be in the books, and just a fun time, Michael, for sure. 3 great games on the Region Sports Network. Gonna be great there as well, but just super stoked to spend another Thursday night with you all, and more importantly, you, Mr. Brad.
Excellent. Well, I was gonna say at the end of tomorrow night, it's already crazy to think that we'll be 67% of the way done with the regular season of high school football.
I think pairings are coming up, I want to say around week 8-ish, so before we're breaking down the brackets, and it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I say it every time, live it up for those players out there, the coaches, the team moms, everybody. It really moves by fast, and it kind of stinks that it's just right at the beginning of the football, of the school year, I'll say, and then it's like, okay, rip that Band-Aid off, and we'll see, again, for those seniors too as well, it's especially an emotional time. We got some real senior nights coming up. I know we do senior nights now, sometimes in the first parts of the season, but the real last regular season home games too. That's a special time. But it moves quick, so just live it all up.
Senior nights are always special. Love those. All right, that will wrap things up here on Region Football Weekly, presented by Tire Pros in Maryville. We are more than tires, and we are more than we are more than tires.
Just
we'll
Michaels.
We'll go with that. But thank you for tuning in from the Sincere Bank Studio at the Athletic Performance Factory. This has been Region Football Weekly. For Justin Cole, for the sports director Mike Dewan, I'm Michael Brenner. Thanks for tuning in to the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Hi, my name is Mark Macknick. I'm the owner of Mark Macknick CPA firm in Highland, Indiana on Kennedy Avenue. I've been working with Region Sports for years now. Started working with Chris years ago, just on some special projects, advertising here and there. After a while, kind of increased the advertising. Mainly was doing it for the community involvement. It's such a great network and program they do with the high school sports. But as time went by, I started getting on there more frequently, and then the phone starts ringing. And I was getting calls all the time from people. Hey, I saw your ad on so-and-so football game. I saw your ad on a basketball game. And it's really helped my business. It's increased the volume. We're a tight community in Northwest Indiana, sports-wise, and just a lot of community involvement. So that's mainly why I got into it. I remember watching one game. It was a basketball game, and I think there was a little bit of an altercation, and as the altercation was happening, my ad was right on the bottom, and someone typed in, "I wonder what Mark Macknick's thinking right now." And I was thinking, wow, this is awesome. It's really been a great feature for my business. It's the only advertising I do. I don't advertise anywhere else other than Region Sports. it's for the business, but mainly for the involvement with the community. I played high school baseball here in Highland, and ever since I've been advertising on Region Sports, a lot of my old coaches are now my clients. A lot of my old teammates come in here. My recommendation, if you're a business here in Northwest Indiana, I think Region Sports is, for your money, it's one of the best places that you can advertise. I mean, I can advertise on billboards. I could do anywhere I want to. And I choose Region Sports mainly because I get a lot of feedback, especially on the high school level. A lot of the parents, if they can't make a game, they're watching it online. They're watching a replay, the grandparents. So it's done wonders for my business, and it's my go-to for advertising. It's the only spot I would advertise. So if you're a business owner in the area, really look into advertising on Region Sports. It's going to be well worth your money, and you'll make tenfold on what you're spending. Region Sports Network.